How to protect wealth during war. Well, first, my heart goes out to all those people in a place of danger. My prayers are with you. Godspeed, my friends. So, to the question in hand, how do you protect wealth during a time of war? Well, there are many facets to this, as is often the case with the complex subject, but I'm going to break them down in a simple way. So I want to ask you 3 questions. What type of war? What is your wealth? And what is your goal? Let's go through step by step. So war can take many forms. For example, economic, information, military style war. Now, each represents a different terrain that one must navigate when stewarding wealth. What war are you experiencing? Now, for each form, there are of course different outcomes to one's decision making. I'll go into more detail later with an example, but next, what wealth have you accumulated? So we've thought about what war we're in, well, what wealth do we have? To be specific, I'm talking about financial wealth, a business, some real estate, or maybe an investment portfolio. Think through, what is it exactly that I own? So now we know the terrain and the assets, we need to think about your goal. Of course, one's goal depends on the answers to the first 2 questions, but to remain at a high level at this stage, really ask yourself, what is it you need and want? Set your goal, design a strategy, and then stick to it. Information changes, especially as asset allocators, so a predefined strategy is crucial. Why? Well, what if you own an asset that has significantly decreased in value? Do you buy more? Do you see great value? Or do you sell? Do you cut your losses? The only way to answer that is if you compare the present day information back to the strategy that you set. Let's run through some examples. You're in an information war. You have a portfolio of equities and you want to gain a 20% per annum gain for the next decade. Or you're in an economic war. You have a manufacturing business and you want to have a clear succession plan in place for the next generation. Well, lastly, you're in a military war. You have a family home and you want to flee the country. Everyone's situation will be different. Try to zoom out. Find the signal from all the noise. Now, I promised I would share a strategy on how to protect wealth. So here it is. Let's keep it simple. Bitcoin. Are you serious, mate? I hear you asking. Yes, I'm deadly serious. Now let me explain. All wealth takes different forms. We ran through that back in step 2. And of course, each asset has different nuances. But there are 3 key characteristics I want you to consider. Capital growth, capital protection, and property rights. Now let's cycle back to the information war example with the equities investor who wants a 20% per annum return over the next decade. Now I believe that Bitcoin has a better capital protection, capital growth, and property rights to an equity over the next decade. But what about the wartime economic cycle? Good question. History shows wartime economies of the last century with the huge increases in government spending as potentially fruitful time for equity investors. Okay, fair enough, but that depends on your sector. Are you exposed to the military industrial complex? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you're just exposed to fashion brands. Point being, some sectors will do well, others definitely won't. Also, in this example, this is an information war. What's the historic context there? The spending-induced bull market I just touched on is often when the military war is being waged. As always, it comes back to the individual, their war, their wealth, and their goals. Let's delve in further. There is one situation where I think Bitcoin really is a 0 to 1 innovation. Example number 3, a military war, a family home, and the requirement to flee a country. For the first time in history, due to the innovation that is Bitcoin, one can keep their wealth if they find themselves in a war zone. Really? I believe so. Well, why is that? Let's walk through step by step. Find someone to buy your house, get paid in local currency, move from fiat to Bitcoin via an exchange, secure your Bitcoin in a self-custody wallet, Start your journey to the new physical destination you require. And on arrival, exchange that Bitcoin for whatever you need. Now, I admit, this requires some key assumptions. One, you can find someone to buy your very illiquid asset that is your house. But two, you're able to then navigate the on-ramp from fiat to Bitcoin. But if you can, you've just figured out how to protect your wealth in a time of war. Nice work. Now, you can switch around the different forms of war, the different forms of wealth structure, and the different goals depending on your personal situation. My bet, in 99% of situation, an allocation to Bitcoin makes sense. Why? We go back to those three characteristics: capital growth, capital protection, and property rights. Now let's dial in on the third characteristic there specifically, property rights. What is he talking about? Well, is your home actually your home? Are your equities actually your equities? Does the factory your family has run for generations actually belong to them? Maybe. Maybe not. But I believe Bitcoin in self-custody is the purest form of a property right humans have ever had access to. Why? Two specific reasons in this case. Can't be taken away from you and can't be debased. Unbelievable, right? So unlike a portfolio of equities, unlike a business or unlike a family home, they can't take it off you and they can't debase it on the back end. That is a big deal. In fact, it cannot be overemphasized. Hence, I encourage everyone to investigate how Bitcoin might help them. Now, we're getting to the end. Thank you very much for sticking with me all this way. Lastly, I want to leave you with an important subject to consider. It's a big one, this. How is modern warfare financed? No, seriously, how do they pay for all these wars? The answer is not as obvious as it might seem. In my view, it's money printing. Lots and lots of money printing. But this is a subject for another day. Stay safe, investigate Bitcoin. Thank you so much. My name's been Jake. Lastly, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out on whatever platform you're using, comment, give us a like, subscribe, whatever it might be, or ping me an email. I'd love to hear about how you think Bitcoin might help you. Thank you.